Hello, my name is Pat Fensom. I am a performance consultant. I want to thank you for joining me, for those on video and those in the classroom. I truly appreciate your time. Today we're going to talk about motivation. Specifically, I want this discussion to be geared towards enhancing motivation in the high school population, the performers in the high school realm. We see examples of motivation every day. We see it on TV. We see it in the stories that we read. We certainly see examples of motivation in the fields that you work, whether it's in the classroom, on a sports field. We see examples of motivation even in our own lives. We know when we're motivated. On the flip side, we see examples where motivation is lacking. We see that in the same venues, in the classroom, athletic field, and certainly I think it's safe to say we know when our motivation is not where it needs to be. I spent most of my adult life, close to 31 years, serving in a high-risk performance domain as a member of the Elite Special Operations team. And I'll be honest with you, my motivation level wasn't where it needed to be each and every day. Thankfully, I had men to the left and to the right of me that would challenge me, encourage me to get my motivation back up, back to the level it needed to be. Just seeing their example challenged myself to get that motivation up. I had a purpose, I had a mission. And I certainly had a responsibility. And oftentimes those factors were something that I leaned upon to enhance my motivation. As we talk about motivation today, and again, we're going to gear this towards the high school performer, I want to talk about what motivation is. And I also want to talk about the leader's role. Leaders being yourselves, the coaches, the teachers. We'll look at factors that influence motivation. And also, I want to conduct an activity with you I think you're going to enjoy. The activity is going to look at factors that we control and factors that we don't control. And try to address maybe how that affects our focus and drive, our motivation, if you will. But before we get into all that, I want to share a video with you. This is a very motivating video. It's a video I've utilized for many years for personal development, for personal challenge to motivate myself. I also use this video when serving in the military. I would bring in new personnel to the organization. I would show this video and talk to them and give them a challenge. Like I said, it is a very inspiring video. The video is called 212 Degrees, and I hope you enjoy it. So did you enjoy the video? What did you think of it? It seems to me every time I watch that video, there's something new that I take away, that I can apply in my life. Perhaps it's where I'm at in that particular moment on my personal journey. Like I stated before the video, it's a very motivating video. The video talked about that extra degree to achieve results. And the video made a statement. I'm not sure if you caught it or not, but it said that extra degree is something we all can apply every day. So that begs the question, why aren't we? We certainly want those results. We want the results that we establish, or the goals that we establish in our personal lives, in our professional lives, in our high school lives. Establish some goals and we want to achieve those goals. But what keeps us from achieving those results? And it comes down to motivation. So what is motivation? Motivation is the direction and intensity in the effort. Imagine, Sam, where you have an athlete come to weight training. The fact that he shows up into the gym could you could come to a conclusion that there's some level of motivation. But Sam, you're the football coach, and as that athlete is going through the routine in the gym, you notice that he is lacking focus and effort. And so you would probably come to a conclusion that he is not as motivated as you thought. And so now you're looking to enhance his performance. Another way to define motivation is the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way. So there's two types of motivation that I want to look at. And I want to encourage you to study more. Intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. So intrinsic motivation is the motivation where we're driven by internal rewards. Achieving personal goals, seeing improvement. And extrinsic motivation is driven by external rewards, perhaps a championship ring, recognition in a newspaper, becoming team captain, so being recognized by the school. Intrinsic motivation has been found in research to be the best choice when it comes to long-term motivation. Whereas sometimes extrinsic motivation is utilized to perform, to earn a reward. And that's not a bad thing. But as far as long-term motivation, like I stated, the research has found intrinsic motivation to be more likely to have long-term sustained motivation. The next point I want to talk about is the leader's role. And so the first point under the leader's role is a leadership style. I want you to consider your leadership style. Is it a style that encourages or inspires and motivates your athletes, Sam, or those in your classroom? If your leadership style does do that, encourage, inspire, and motivate, that would be considered a transformational leadership style and empowers those below your level to exercise initiative, to develop. And that's certainly what we want in our young people. I would challenge you to look at various leadership styles, because I've been in leadership roles for much of my professional life. And there's facets within various leadership styles that in a given situation that I found very applicable. But underneath that leadership style that's there in your classrooms or in your sports fields, what kind of climate is taking place? What is the climate that your student athlete or those in your classroom are performing under? Is that climate a coach task involving climate or ego involving climate? A couple climates that I want to share with you. And when I say coach tasks involving climate, certainly you could put leader task involving climate. And so that climate is more adaptive, something we certainly want our young people to mature in. It is very positive. It encourages emotional and cognitive processing and development. And again, those are factors that we want to see in ourselves as adults. And we know that it takes repetitions, takes maturity. So that kind of climate in our classrooms and in our athletic fields certainly sets that performer up for success. It encourages taking leadership roles. The ego involving climate discourages initiative. It's my way from the leader's perspective. It's exclusive in its groups. There's cliques because it's based on ability. It rewards on basis of ability and not on basis of character or effort. So very different in the climate orientation. So we have the leadership style and we have the climate. And as leaders, something I took away from my time in the Army is to know your people. Know your people. And in the realm of motivation, whether it's a style, what makes somebody tick, how you could enhance a performer's motivation, I want you to think about this. One size doesn't fit all. We say that often, but that's a fact. One size doesn't fit all in trying to get that performer to enhance that motivation. People are motivated by different factors. So knowing your people, knowing your student athletes, knowing those in your clubs or your classroom will help you identify what drives that performer, what methods that you could apply, collaborate with to enhance their motivation. Ultimately, in a leader's role is the importance of us setting an example. Because our student athletes, those in the classroom, our high school performers are watching examples that we set. So set an example and applying motivational factors. And let them understand that our motivation level is not always at the peak level that it needs to be. And sometimes it's what they see in us when we bounce back, when we're down, when we're in challenge, and how we get back up. So set an example. So now we're going to take a look at some factors that influence motivation. I want to introduce you to the 3 C's: the competence, control, and connectedness. Competence is when we feel good about something we do. In your students and your athletes, it's when that performer is feeling good about what they are doing. And it's been found that it is key to increasing and sustaining motivation. So you're capturing as a coach or teacher or a club leader what they are doing well. And in those situations where it may be a hard task, a new skill, a lead in a play, you're spending more time with them to conduct more drills, and you're capturing the areas that they've shown that they're pretty competent in and improvements that you're noticing. And so that motivates them to keep going. The second C would be control. The performer, again in the classroom or on the athletic field, has a say or some control within a situation. They're part of the process. You're not losing your control as a leader when you do that. In fact, I think it's a example of leadership and a position of strength, and that will certainly be captured by those on your team or in your classroom. Another method is giving them options during practice. Sam, you know, your football program, you have a pretty regimented training plan, goals for the practice. I know, Michelle, you in the classroom, same thing. You have that goal or that training plan for the week. and giving them options. Sometimes changing the routines is certainly one of the C's that is a factor that will influence motivation. And the third C is connectedness, bottom line relationships. I think about an experience I had with a professional baseball team. I found it very interesting. There was two players to a room, and they had a big group of players from Latin America, and then they had the players that were from North America, from the United States. And the way the leadership down there at this camp conducted or paired them in the rooms, they put a Latin American with a player from North America to start forming that connection, because it was not, hey, we're Americans, we're South Americans, we're Central Americans, we're that baseball team. So they use that identity as a something that was bigger than those individuals, and so try to create a means to connect people. So you look at methods to connect in your classroom, in your athletic field. It may be that new player, may be that high school performer who's trying out for the performing arts realm for the first time. It could be somebody moving from out of state to the local area. So shared purpose is another realm or factor that I think about often as something that influences motivation. When I think of shared purpose, I can reflect to many times serving in the Army, where it was absolutely miserable. You're hungry, you're tired because you haven't slept. It's raining, it's cold, but you have a mission. Sometimes it was actual mission, sometimes it was training. But you look to the left and right of you, and it's not that everybody was smiling, but everybody was intent and purposeful. We shared a purpose. It was miserable, but we shared that, and we talk about that afterwards. And so we take some of those experiences and take it to the next level the next time we have a similar situation. In the classroom, shared purpose. Going through a losing streak, Sam, on a football team. Working together as a team, doing those drills, the playbook, running those plays so that we could get to the next level or experience a win. We train together and we win together, or we compete together. And lastly, accountability. Accountability is huge. I find in my engagements with people, they really want accountability. It's a factor that influences motivation when I lay it out there, perhaps in the form of group accountability. I tell my classmates or my peers, my goal is to do this in the sport that I'm performing. And I've developed this plan, this training schedule, these goals, and I lay it out there. I might even place it on social media, but it's group accountability. Sometimes it's in the form of, hey, my integrity is on the line. Is he or she someone that keeps their word? So accountability is huge and definitely a factor that influences motivation. Great, we've come to the point now in the presentation where we're going to conduct the activity I spoke to you about earlier. Great activity. Activity is called the Controllables Challenge. It's something I got from Jeff Jansen's book, Peak Performance Playbook. Plenty of drills in there. Okay. So now we're going to look at those factors that we can control and we can't control. Just a quick story. I ran into that even preparing for this presentation. I control the message in the presentation. I wanted to do this in the classroom. I requested a classroom. Got it approved. And last minute, classroom was canceled on me. I was disappointed. And I went through the little process, frustration. But I didn't control that classroom. I control the message. And I needed to focus on that. So it's very interesting. We run through these processes all the time. So what are the things that we do not control? Or that we do control?
I'd say being at practice.
Practice. Very good, Michelle. Your president said practice. Sure, certainly. Sam?
The player's attitude.
Attitude. Absolutely. Yep. What they bring to the attitude practice, game time, training. Michelle,
How about nutrition?
nutrition, what they put into their system. Too many times we see examples where we have poor nutrition. Okay, and Ken?
The amount of sleep we get.
Amount of sleep, yeah, absolutely. Lots of research on that. Okay, so now we're gonna look at some areas that are out of our control. Ken,
The length of practice.
length of practice. Sure. Sometimes it's regulated by the city, by the sports league, so on. The length of practice, when, how early in the practice, or how early in the season you can start practice. Michelle,
Weather?
weather, certainly. The humidity, the rain, the snow. Yeah, you don't control that. Yeah, what else?
Game schedule.
Okay, Sam, game schedule, yeah. Whether you're home, away, the crowds matter, but you don't, it's out of your control. Yeah, Michelle?
How about homework?
Homework, certainly. Yeah, I mean, they could control whether they do or not, but the fact that they get assigned the homework for the classes, at the end of the day, they're student performers, student athletes, they're going to get homework. Great. So, you know, this shape, the red line forms an octagon, much like a stop sign. Okay? And those are factors I find we often are looking at that affects our momentum and motivation. We should be focusing on the blue square, in the zone, focusing on things that we can't control. Okay? And when we put that into practice, the motivation is going to be there, the growth is going to be there. So that concludes my presentation. I appreciate your time. Those online joining us, Michelle and Ken and Sam joining us here live. We spoke about motivation, something we're challenged with every day. I hope you could take this to your classrooms, to your field, and impact the kids.